You can never satisfy this narcissistic appetite of Donald Trump, because there'll always be something else that he'll want from you.
Wife, Kellyanne, this is the most interesting relationship certainly to come out of this crazy Trump story.
Imagine being so angry about facts that you go on a full-blown tweeting rampage in all caps. That's exactly what happened when George Conway calmly listed Donald Trump's biggest business failures. Failed casinos? Check. Defunct airlines? Yup. And Trump lost it mid-interview. But here's the twist. Conway didn't hurl insults. He just used cold, hard facts. What happens when the image of success shatters? Stick around, because this meltdown gets even wilder.
You know, drumbeat for years is like, you need to talk about this guy who tried to destroy the country and destroy the Constitution.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. What happens when someone calmly dismantles a billionaire's larger-than-life image? George Conway answered that question. No shouting, no insults, just a cold and calculated listing of Donald Trump's screw-ups laid out for the world to see. And surprise, surprise, Trump couldn't handle it. The man whose name is plastered on everything from steaks to hotel towers was forced to confront a fact he hates more than anything. His record of failure is as long as a CVS receipt.
That was actually when it was worth something. They took the Trump name off. We would have lost money. Now it's like you take Trump name off.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about Conway's strategy here, because it wasn't your run-of-the-mill political jab. Most critics of Trump tend to play his game, throwing insults, trading barbs, basically rolling in the mud with him. Conway, though, took the high road and hit where it truly hurts. He didn't call Trump names, though. To be fair, it's not like Trump hasn't earned them. Instead, Conway went factual, methodical, and unflinching. He brought receipts, lots of them, and started ticking off Trump's most infamous business faceplants in a way so matter-of-fact, it felt like he was reading off a grocery list. It's no secret that Trump's entire public persona revolves around being a successful businessman. For decades, he has worked hard to craft this image of untouchable wealth and unmatched genius. "I'm a winner," he says, though curiously, he's very quiet about the losing streak that has followed him like a shadow for most of his career.
Studies of authoritarianism, it becomes too tiresome to figure out what's real, what's factual, what's not.
Conway's calm takedown didn't just question Trump's business acumen, it attacked the very foundation of how Trump wants to be seen by the public. And let's just say, the numbers are not exactly in Trump's favor. Let's start with the casinos. Oh, the casinos. Atlantic City was supposed to be Trump's shining crown, his proof that he could dominate not just real estate, but entertainment. Instead, the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino went bankrupt not once, not twice, but basically as many times as you'd reboot a computer that keeps freezing. George Conway unpacked this flop on air like he was reciting trivia for fun. Then came Trump Shuttle, the short-lived airline venture that even Southwest Airlines probably laughs about. Trump bought a debt-laden company, painted his name on some planes, and ran it straight into the ground in under 3 years. By the time Conway got to the infamous Trump University, which a judge once called a classic bait-and-switch scheme, you could almost picture Trump squirming in whatever golden chair he was sitting in. The brilliance of Conway's delivery wasn't just in the content, it was the sheer calmness of it. There was no theatrical hand-waving, no accusations about Trump's character. Conway didn't need it. The facts did the heavy lifting, and the contrast between Conway's steady demeanor and Trump's blustering ego made it all the more brutal. It's like being gently told you've been walking around all day with spinach in your teeth. Except, in this case, the spinach is millions of dollars in business losses, Oprah-level lawsuits, and a mountain of unpaid contractors.
You can never satisfy this narcissistic appetite of Donald Trump, because there'll always be something else that he'll want from you.
When someone has built their entire identity on success, listing out every public failure can be a psychological wrecking ball. Conway knew what he was doing. Trump, on the other hand, is not known for taking criticism gracefully or silently. You could practically hear the gears grinding in his head as Conway spoke. First, the classic Trump defense mechanism kicked in. fake news. Except, of course, these were all well-documented public failures, so that didn't stick. Then, the infamous Twitter fingers came to life, hammering out one of the most chaotic rants you'll ever see. All caps, random exclamation points, claims that he did it better than anyone ever, while simultaneously denying that these very businesses ever flopped. Somewhere in there, he even accused Conway of being jealous. Because what's a Trump meltdown without middle school insults? And that's not even getting into his reaction during the interview itself. Trump, who normally thrives in chaotic debates, seemed visibly rattled.
The president can't do this because a normal president could do this.
Right.
And so it's sort of interesting to look at that in retrospect.
He talked over himself so much, even he couldn't seem to follow what he was saying. At one point, he was defending one business failure by pointing to another failed business, as if an airline collapse somehow made a casino bankruptcy more excusable. It was like watching someone try to put out a fire with a can of lighter fluid. You almost felt bad for him. As the meltdown spilled into full view, the fallout was immediate. This wasn't just a bad look for Trump, it was a PR disaster. But the chaos didn't stop at Trump's public image. It was about to hit much closer to home, taking a toll on his campaign dynamics and personal life. Because George Conway's critique landed one more unexpected blow. It unleashed a storm that not only shook Trump politically, but tore through his inner circle, including his own family.
Wife Kellyanne, this is the most interesting relationship certainly to come out of this crazy Trump story.
What happens when your critic isn't just dismantling your public image, but also causing chaos in your personal life? For Trump, the aftermath of George Conway's calm takedown wasn't just a bump in the road. This was full-on campaign pandemonium. Trump's meltdown didn't just spill into his Twitter feed, it spread like a virus, sending his campaign staff scrambling to contain the damage as things unraveled both professionally and personally. Let's start with the campaign team. You'd think their job couldn't get harder, right? These people are already juggling Trump's controversial rants, bizarre demands, and that mysterious hair situation. But after Conway's pointed comments, their workload tripled. Trump wasn't focusing on rallies, policy, or even flashing his thumbs up for the cameras. He became obsessed with Conway, like stalk your ex on social media levels of obsessed.
And they become kind of agnostic as to reality. And that's a very dangerous situation.
Staffers were left trying to babysit a grown man whose response to valid criticism was to sit in a corner and fire off rage tweets. According to reports, they even printed out positive tweets from Trump supporters and handed them to him, hoping it would, believe it or not, cheer him up. Desperate times, right? This tactic might work on a toddler throwing a Walmart tantrum, but Trump wasn't having it. While the campaign team begged him to let it go and refocus on actual voters, Trump doubled down on Conway, dragging the entire narrative off course. And this wasn't just an isolated incident for Trump. Honestly, by now, his team probably should have seen it coming. Remember the Access Hollywood tape? That was another moment where Trump's inability to let something go turned a bad situation into a full-on implosion. Back then, his advisors were splitting hairs, trying to figure out if they should publicly distance themselves or just keep their heads down and pretend nothing happened. Fast forward to the Conway saga, and it's deja vu all over again. His inner circle argued about whether to tell him to stop, knowing full well that Trump doesn't handle the word no very well. Others suggested giving him space to vent, which, spoiler alert, just gave him more time to stew and let his frustrations take the wheel. But the meltdown didn't stop with the campaign. Conway's remarks also tore open another wound, Trump's personal life. Let's be real, this situation was a bit awkward, to say the least. George Conway's wife, Kellyanne Conway, wasn't just a Trump ally. She was one of his most high-profile defenders, practically the human embodiment of alternative facts.
Being with the anchor and flattering the anchor and being invited back. I mean, it seems like the only way you can get a Republican on these days is if they're against Donald Trump.
Imagine having your top advisor's husband publicly picking apart your failures. Talk about a family dinner from hell. Kellyanne later admitted that George's criticism felt like a betrayal, saying, "I feel there's a part of him that thinks I chose Donald Trump over him." And honestly, it's hard to argue with her logic.
He can change his mind about Donald Trump. This is a free country. George owes no allegiance to a political party or a presidential candidate.
Trump demands loyalty like a mafia boss and seems to consider anything less than loud, unflinching support as treason. It's no surprise that this tension bled over into the Conways' personal lives, turning what might have been a quiet feud into a public, bitter soap opera. And then there's Melania. If you've been wondering why she always looks like she's plotting her escape in public appearances, the Conway fallout might give you some clues. While Trump was busy attacking George Conway online and his team was tripping over themselves to fix his mess, Melania was notably missing from the picture. Reports circulated that she refused to deliver a speech at the Republican National Convention, raising eyebrows about the state of their relationship. At this point, people started speculating if she even lived full-time in the White House. Her absence wasn't just noticeable, it felt symbolic, like a quiet rebellion against the chaos surrounding Trump.
Why don't we name everything, you know, and everything we've seen in the past several months, they were they want to, and understandably so.
If Kellyanne being torn between two loyalty tests was messy, Melania's distance was another glimpse into just how strained this marriage might really be. So, to recap, Trump's inability to handle George Conway's criticism didn't just result in a PR nightmare, it caused chaos on nearly every level. His team couldn't control him, Kellyanne was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and Melania's silence spoke volumes. And as if all of that wasn't enough, this personal drama carried out in full view of the public, adding another layer of humiliation to Trump's meltdown. But there's more to the story, because all eyes turned to Melania, whose absence was about to spark even bigger questions about Trump's personal life and the cracks within it. Trump's Achilles heel isn't insults, it's facts. George Conway didn't just criticize Trump, he unraveled him brick by brick with nothing more than documented failures. For a man who feeds off bluster and branding, being hit with undeniable truths was nothing short of catastrophic. And here's the kicker. This wasn't about politics or name-calling. It was about the cracks in an image Trump has spent decades polishing. So, what does it say about a leader who crumbles under the weight of simple facts? If the truth alone can create this kind of chaos, what happens when the illusion finally shatters completely?